Hello, I'm Sean from Yo-Yo Games, and this video is a beginner's introduction to GameMaker Studio 2, where I'm going to be talking about just the fundamental building blocks of a GameMaker project, and just the overall idea when using the software. A GameMaker project is made up of its different resources. You can see all of those resources in the resource tree, organised by category. There's various different types of resources, from sprites to tile sets, sound, scripts, objects, rooms, and so on, which all act as the building blocks of your video game. Today we're just going to be looking at the key resources that every GameMaker project needs to form a functioning video game, and how those resources interact with one another. A sprite is any kind of image in your project, so from player characters to bullet objects and effects to background and UI elements. Any sprite can be an animation and not just a still image if it just has multiple frames in it, and a sprite also has a coordinate known as the origin point, which determines the center point of that image when used in the game. Sprites can be imported from external PNGs, JPEGs, and artwork you've created in other software, but you can also create and edit them inside GameMaker's image editor. An object is an element of your game itself. They control the interactivity and logic of your game. They can be linked to a sprite, such as in the case of a player character or an enemy, or they can have no sprite at all and can simply be used to manage game logic in the background. Objects are controlled using events and actions. This is a key idea behind how GameMaker games work. When a certain event happens, actions can be carried out. GameMaker has many actions built in that you can access directly through its drag and drop system, whereby you literally drag and drop specific set actions together to create a chain of game logic. Alternatively, you can code your own custom actions using GML or GameMaker language, which allows you a lot more flexibility and control over exactly what happens in your game. Lastly, we're going to cover rooms. Rooms are easiest to think of as the levels or screens of your game. This is where you bring together all of the other resources of your game to actually create and flesh out your game world by placing instances of the objects you've already defined and using your other sprites to create backgrounds to create the finished package. Every GameMaker game needs at least one room to actually run, and the room that's at the top of the resource tree will always run first when you actually run the game. You can then use your objects, events, and actions to move between the different levels and screens of your game while the game is running. So to summarise, while there are many other resources that we haven't touched on here, such as sounds and fonts, primarily a GameMaker game is made up of sprites, which are images, objects which define game logic, and rooms which you use to organise those objects as instances. By combining these different resources together, you then have a working video game. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been a useful insight into the basic workings of GameMaker Studio 2. We're all very much looking forward to seeing what you guys can create. Cheers guys, see you next time.